Hello and welcome back to your mat. Today we're going to experiment with our yoga practice a bit. So we're going to do 3 poses, and in each of those poses we're going to do 3 variations of those poses. So they're going to be similar but slightly different, so you can kind of play around and see how you feel in each of the poses, where you may notice sensations might be different from one variation to the other. So we're going to just kind of experiment a little bit. So treat your body kind of like a laboratory today, and we'll get started. So you won't need any props for today's class. 2 blocks are optional, but I don't think you're really going to need them. But if you typically practice with them, go ahead and grab those. And we'll start with a quote by Cindy Lee. I think it's interesting that the opposite of being active in yoga is not being passive, it's being receptive. So in today's class, really be receptive and notice where you feel sensations. If you need to back off, if you need to not do a variation, listen to your body throughout today's class. So we're going to get started in a couple different, 3 different versions of a pigeon pose. So we're not going to do this typical start of pigeon. We're going to start out with our legs staggered. So you can kind of start out however you really want here, but what I'm going to do is I've got my right leg is forward, and my back leg is also kind of 90-degree angle here, and is kind of toward the back. So kind of just play around with what feels good on your body. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to square off my hips here to the front of my mat. So again, I'm going to do a 90-90 to start with, but you can have this back leg in a little closer if you'd like. Just play around with what works for you. So I'm going to keep the front leg more of a 90-degree angle, and the back one's going to be a bit staggered. And sit up and get tall, and then exhale, and we're going to fold forward any amount. And you can bring your hands down to the mat, or if you like, you can make this a little bit more challenging by keeping your hands off the ground. But that's a whole nother challenge. So if you just want to go into this pose and just feel how this feels in your body, you can sway back and forth a bit. Again, experiment and see what really feels good with you right in your body today. So hold this for a minute, breathing here. And again, come forward any amount. So you might be more upright, and you might be further down. You might be down on your elbows. Experiment and see what works with your body. Stay here for another breath. And exhale, let that go, and come all the way back up. And now I'm going to turn slightly to the side. You can go ahead and keep your legs as they are. But I'm going to turn to the side so you can see this a bit better. And here you can keep your legs close together if you like, or you can stagger that back leg out a little bit further if you like. So now we're going to go to a twist to the right. So I'm open up more now here in 90 sit is what I would call it. So I have 90-degree angles on both my legs and my feet. Inhale, get tall, and then we're going to exhale, and we're just going to twist over to the right any amount. So this might be more over your knee, it might be more over your upper thigh, it might be even further behind you. You have to play around and see what feels good for you. How much of a twist do you want today? Do you want to go deeper? You can stay upright. You could take your left hand and grab your right elbow to pull yourself in a bit more. You could potentially come down on your elbows, your forearms. So decide what works for you in this variation. Notice you're twisting your body now here. So how does this feel? How does this feel compared to the one we just did? Breathe here a few more rounds. And then go ahead and inhale and come up. And now we're going to come into full pigeon, or your variation of pigeon. So if you don't want to come into a full, like if having your back leg all the way back doesn't work, this is full pigeon. If that doesn't work for you, you could always stay a bit staggered, but maybe take that back leg back a little bit more. So now it's not as bent in. And then you're now going to turn toward that front one. So if you want to go into full pigeon, but you want to stay more upright, you can also do that. So you don't have to bring your your right seat down. You can stay more upright. But if you have it in you and it feels all right to come on down, go ahead and come on down into your pigeon. So find the variation of pigeon that works for you. So again, you could be more upright, or you could come back down. Or you could have this leg could be a sat right here, and you could also be leaning more on that right. That's fine too. And then we're going to fold forward any amount here. So you can come forward on your forearms if you like, or stay more upright. Another breath or two here. And just notice the sensations. So go ahead and turn mine. But if, again, you can either, got to find what works for you. So this is the full pigeon for me, and it works just fine. Pigeon's one of my favorite poses. But if it doesn't work for you, then just bring that left leg out a bit and lean a little bit more on your right side. That's perfectly fine too. You're still going to get that opening. Again, we're experimenting. And from there, come on up. We're going to go to the other side. So go ahead and swing that left leg around, and we're just going to switch the sides now. And so again, stagger your feet. So we're going to start with that first variation. So our left foot is forward. And I'm going to have my left foot in this case for this first variation is going to be at a nice parallel to the long edge or the front edge of my 90-degree angle here. And then the other one, your right leg can be a little closer in or it can be further back in a 90-degree angle. You decide what feels good for you. Sit up. Now your right seat is not going to come all the way to the ground. You will be propped up a bit on your left here, and that's okay. Inhale, get tall, and then exhale, and go ahead and fold over that front left leg. Again, if you want a little bit more of a challenge, you can bring your hands up, and you can try that. That feels. I mean, I can feel a big difference from doing that versus having my hands down. So see what feels good for you. Breathe here. One more inhale and exhale and let that go and go ahead and come on up. And now again, I'm going to turn a little bit so you can see, but if you'd like to stagger your legs out a little bit more, so I'm going to move my right leg back a bit. My front leg is going to stay 90-degree angle here. And now I'm going to twist over that left leg. So now twist your body any amount and go ahead and fold forward again. So it's these are similar, it's a similar shape and a variation all in the same pose. But each one feels slightly different and has a slightly different effect on the body. So as you go through these poses, you might find, oh, I really like that version better. So maybe the next time a pigeon is called out in a class, you could modify and pick one of these other variations if one feels better for your body. Breathe there. One more inhale. And exhale and come all the way back up. And now we're going to go into full pigeon, whatever that looks like for you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn here, and I'm going to show it with the full pigeon for how I normally do full pigeon. So I've got my left leg is bent. I've got my left foot is toward my right hip crease, and my right leg is straight back behind me. And then I'm going to sink on down and come down onto my forearms. You could always stagger out that right leg a bit and be more on your left seat here. And you could also come down your elbows. So you may find just staggering that leg out, you still get the opening, but it just helps the pose for you. It makes it more accessible. Or you can be in full pigeon and be more upright. So now you see my left seat is not down on the ground. So whatever, you have to hold yourself a bit more here, but you get the idea. So just try whichever variation works for you. Stay here for a couple breaths. I picked the wrong time of day to do recording. There was a lot of mosquitoes that just suddenly came out of nowhere. So if you see me swatting, that's what I'm swatting at. Another inhale. Exhale. Let's do one more inhale. And exhale, let that go. And then go ahead and come all the way up. And now we're going to come into all fours. And we're going to come into a couple of variations of low lunge. So we're going to step that right foot forward. And in this one, I want you to stay, again, more of a 90-degree angles here for everything. So for your front and your back, I want you to stay more upright. So we're 90-degree angles here. Stay more upright. You're tucking that tailbone under. And what you will notice is your quad. You're really going to get a nice quad opening there. So this will feel different than the next version we're going to do and the third one. So breathe here for just a moment. We're not going to stay as long in these. You'll just notice a little bit more opening there in that quad. And remember what you're feeling the sensation on this one, and then see the next one and the next one, where the sensations are. And one more breath. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this right leg out to the right at a 45-degree angle. So we're at an angle here. And then we're going to go ahead and just give a little bit of a So we're gonna go off to the sides. We're gonna go off of our mat and off to the right-hand side a little bit, just a small amount. We're not trying to go in a really deep one here, just a little bit, and you'll notice that you'll have a sensation that will be different here than it is from the one we just did. You can stay upright here. Hands can be on your legs. Breathing there. And you can also, if you want to add some movement to this, you could just come in and out. Some nice, gentle movements here back and forth. And see how that feels. One more breath. And then go ahead and bring that foot back. And now we're going to come into a deeper lunge. So in this one, we're going to really come in deep and more like a lizard lunge. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that right foot and bring it off to the side of the mat, to the right. Bring both of the hands inside of that front foot. And you can stay here on your hands. If you have blocks, you can always be up on blocks. Stay up here on fingertips or on your hands and really sink deep now. Now you should feel that more in that left hip flexor versus your quad that we felt in that first variation. So come forward any amount. If this doesn't work for you, you can always go back to one of those other variations that we just did. But just notice where you feel in this one. Another deep inhale and exhale. We don't stay here too long. This one's a little more intense. And go ahead and come out of that. Yeah, that's a little bit more intense there. So again, you can always go back to one of the other versions if that was just too much. Go ahead and step that left foot forward. And we're going to stay more upright on for this first one. Tuck the tailbone under. And you should really feel that open in the quads. If you have tight quads, and raise your hand, that's me. I definitely have tight quads. So this is really nice to help open them up a bit more, which also in turn helps my lower back pain that I have sometimes. So sometimes a lower back problem or other pains can be from lower down the chain or even higher up the chain. And in my case, it's my tight hamstrings and my tight quads. So if you need to open up your quads, this is a great one to help with that. You'll really feel that, especially if you're tucking that tailbone under and you're staying at a more upright position here. Another inhale and exhale. And then we're going to do the other variation where we're going to bring our left foot out at a 45-degree angle. And we're just going to lean into that a little bit off to the left. So we're going off to the side here. And you can always move back and forth if that feels better. See, just play around and notice what works for you. So I'm going to do a few movements on this one. If you have sensitive knees, I should have mentioned, a blanket. You can also roll up your mat if you need to. So like a towel or a blanket underneath your knee, a knee here would really help if you have sensitive knees. And I'm wishing I had a blanket right now because I'm on a kind of a hard-packed beach and would help. So then we'll come into our lizard variation. So go ahead and bring that left foot forward. Bring it over to the left side of your mat, and then we're really going to lean forward here. Bring your hands down to the mat and really stretch forward in this. So you can be more out if you need to stay more out of this instead of coming really deep in. So you decide. You can stay more out or really sink those hips in. And we'll just stay here for a couple breaths. Keep this one short. One more. I know, I'm feeling it too. And go ahead and release and come out of that. And now we're going to come down onto our stomach. So, give myself a little clean space here. Outdoor recording. And then your belly, and we're going to come into Sphinx. So this is the first variation we'll do. So Sphinx, you've just got your elbows underneath of your shoulders, and your hands are out in front of you. And you got a nice open chest here. Your shoulders are down the back. You're not hunching forward. Really opening yourself up here, opening your chest. Looking out in front of you, your legs are stretched out behind you. And take a breath here. See how this feels. You can stay in this one if you find that Cobra is a little too much for you, or you're not feeling Cobra today, or if you are feeling Cobra, go ahead and lower your forehead to the mat. Place your hands right around your chest area. And then inhale and come up and up. As you inhale, keep your shoulders on your back there, your elbows in tight, and lift yourself up any amount. So you can be a low Cobra. You might come up a little bit higher. Find what version of Cobra works for you today. Take a breath there. Exhale, release that down, and then you can either stay in Sphinx or Cobra, or the last variation is going to be Seal. So Seal is bring your hands further out in front of you and wider on the mine's off the mat, and then you're just going to do the same thing. Press yourself up like you did in Cobra. So this is Seal. So find that variation. That doesn't work for you, go back to Cobra. If that doesn't work for you either, go back to Sphinx. They're all great for your back, your lower back, giving you a little energizing back bending there without being too aggressive. Another inhale there. And exhale, release that back down to the mat and let that all go. For those of you that have a few minutes or a little bit more time, go ahead and roll over onto your back and come into your Shavasana. For those of you that are either being attacked by mosquitoes, like I am, or are out of time, we're going to end this class here. So if you want to go into Shavasana, go ahead and take Shavasana on your own as long as you want. Otherwise, I really hope that this class was helpful. I hope you enjoyed kind of experimenting a little bit and noticing the difference from the 3 variations we did for each of the poses. So thank you again for joining me, and until next time.